The college basketball experience, Southland Conference 2024-25 season preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with the promo code TCESGPN to score up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Underdog Fantasy, promo code TCESGPN. And we're also brought to you by Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going over to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That is the sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM today. Welcome, everybody, into the college basketball experience. Preview season, baby. We head south to the Southland, and, well, we got some conference expansion. Everybody's talking about the Mountain West, the Pac-12. Did you know Stephen F. Austin and UT Rio Grande, a.k.a. the Mexicans, are joining the Southland Conference? So can't wait to talk about it, man. It's good to see little new look to this league. I think you add two quality teams, especially Stephen F. Austin, who once ran this league. And we'll talk about it, give out our team-by-team predictions, break down each roster, what they lost, what they added, and then at the end, who we think will win the league. But first off, I am Moneyline Mac, a.k.a. the former video coordinator for Bob Huggins and Frank Martin. Also known as Mac Tonight, and it's preview season. So joining me to talk Southland basketball, well, you guys know him as he's the host of the College Baseball Experience, co-host of the College Basketball Experience. He is the window banging, drywall hanging, LeBaron driving Noah Bieniek, a.k.a. Noah B77. What's up, man?
What's going on, Mac? Let's talk some Southland. This conference drove me crazy trying to prep for this show, honestly. It feels like you've got the high class, the middle class, and the low class in this. And I think there's three true tiers, the middle one being the largest in here. And honestly, I think you could split this thing up into two conferences, and I wouldn't tell the difference if you were to give me the top six and the bottom six. But I do love the idea of expansion within the region. I mean, all of these teams are in the Texas, Louisiana area. That's awesome from that regionality standpoint. Mac, as has been my job, I guess, I've gladly done it. I went and listened back to our show previewing the Southland last season.
What we got?
You had Sela sweeping it.
Damn it. Hey, I'm going to step back. I did not think McNeese would come onto the scene this early, and boy, did they.
I had McNeese sweeping. Your sleeper was Lamar. They finished in fourth. I would say that was a successful pick. My sleeper was Northwestern State. They finished in sixth. I mean, it wasn't tremendous. They didn't crack our criteria of qualifying as a sleeper, finishing in the top four of a 10-team conference, but sixth is not bad. For the bust, we both took a big swing and a miss. You had Nichols as your bust, third. They finished third last year. I had Corpus Christi as a bust.
Oh, that's even worse.
They finished second. So this dude, once again this year, I do not have a good feel on the Southland coming into this. And the transfer portal has ravaged these teams. And you get some of them that are able to take advantage of the same transfer portal. And some of them get hammered by it. And we will emphasize that on every single team preview. I think in the Southland this year, that needs to be stated more than some of the other things that we do talk about. So I'm going to spend some time on the transfer portal this episode. And yeah, I can't wait to dive in.
Yeah, but I will say, like, I think going into the year last year for us, those three teams were heavily favored I guess Southeast Louisiana was up. They were a little bit of a letdown last year with expectations, but Nichols and Corpus Christi both had first year head coaches. I still would if I had to go back, I still would make the same pick, and I think you would too. I mean, Lutz leaving, and then the guy that went he's the head coach at UTSA now. He went Crunch. He went to Alabama for Clonch. He went to Bama for a year and was assistant. So those were kind of the fade candidates, but obviously the culture prevailed, as I like to say.
Yeah, and that's something that you usually have a lot better of a feel than I do. Culture and coach, that's your forte. That's your strength.
That's what I
do. In this shit. Me, I'm kind of the spreadsheet nerd without being a nerd. And this is the conference where I think if I'm able to establish weaknesses, which I am, this is one that I'll get the chalk pick right. I'm going to take McNeese.
You're really going out on a limb there.
Big shocker, but outside of that, I took swings and misses on my sleeper and bust. The war against corporate gambling is heating up, and SGPN needs you to do your part. If you could take a couple of seconds to rate and review, subscribe, leave a like on this video on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this show on podcast platforms. Leave a rating and a review for the college basketball experience, the college football experience, the college baseball experience, the sports gambling podcast. Most importantly, tell a friend, because word of mouth is the heartbeat of SGPN. All right, Mac, are you ready to do this? Let's
do it.
Southland basketball. Let's preview some teams. We get to start off with a big bang. The Houston Christian Huskies.
Not UConn.
They went 6-23 overall a season ago, 4-14 in the Southland, tied for 8th, aka second last. They lose a large chunk of this team. 10 guys, 4 of them that played over 24 minutes a game last season. We're looking at Marcus Green, who played 32.5 minutes, 15.1 points per game, 3.6 boards, 3 assists. Also, Jay Alvarez, 15.5 points, 4.5 boards. Michael Emaria Gbe, 28.5 minutes, 11.5 points, 8.5 boards. Dominic Capriati, 24.5 minutes a game. Deshaun Proctor, Nate Hudson, Jake Arnold, Chigozie Achara, Tristan Moore, Bruce Carpenter, Bunk and Maring, all gone. Coming in, we've got DeAndre Samuels, a D2 transfer from Nebraska Kearney. He averaged 13.3 points per game, 5.5 boards, 3.5 assists, over 1 steal in 32 minutes of action, 47.7% from the field, and 39.5% from deep. Then we've got Ivan Reynolds, a Jacksonville State defensive specialist, Ajani Lee from St. Thomas, Elijah Brooks from North Dakota, Valentine Cat from Lamar, Damari Williams from Oral Roberts, Julian Mackey from Georgia State, Trent Johnson from Idaho State, and Peyton Rogers, a D2 transfer in from Emporia State. Man, this is one of quite a few teams that I'm projecting in the back half of this conference, and I have no clue what we're going to see from the Huskies on day 1 and game 30.
Yeah, it's hard to make a gauge on this. It's even hard to I can't even really talk about the coaching hire that much, just because Craig Dottie comes over. He's coming over from Emporia State. That's the Division II ranks. He was at Graceland, Rock Valley. He's got a good track record. It's just, can he take that next step? And I think if he is, I don't think it's going to be right away. So definitely a bottom tier team in the Southland. He's got his work cut out for him. I mean, he takes over for Ron Cottrell, who was there forever. He was there for about a decade plus and struggled. It's a hard job, Houston Christian. So, yeah, I'm with you. This team is definitely at the bottom of the league.
Yeah, that was a fun one to start. Let's
Yeah, it's hard. There's a lot of unknowns. I wish I could say I was at practice every day. Like, oh man, you got to see this wig. I don't know how they're going to play style wise. I definitely got to see them with my eyes, but I'll lean to they're going to struggle here.
Yeah. Speaking of struggle, we then go to the last place finisher from a season ago. Incarnate Word, the Cardinals. They went 8-23 a season ago, 3-15 in conference, 10th out of 10 teams. Again, another team that loses quite a bit, but honestly, addition by subtraction, maybe, hopefully, cross your fingers. They lose 5 guys that played over 20 minutes a game last season. The big hits: Alex Anderson, 11 points, 6.5 boards, 3 assists. You also had Elijah Davis, 23 minutes per game, 3 assists. He was a great point guard. Sky Wicks, 27.5 minutes per game, 13.7 points per game. Josiah Hammonds played 30 minutes, 12.5 points. Josh Morgan, 20.5 minutes. Devontae Dennis, Breno Silva, all of them transfer out. Incoming, I do like the backcourt. There is some these two are coming in from Ball State. Jalen Anderson and Davion Bailey. Jalen Anderson is a really interesting transfer in. He averaged 15.8 points per game in the MAC last year with Ball State.
Yeah. Yep.
Graduate senior, both of these guys. So they might not have found like a lateral place to play. And all of a sudden they land in Incarnate Word's lap. And they've got one of the better, more experienced backcourts in this league. So Jalen Anderson, 36 minutes per game, 15.8 points per game, 4.6 boards, 4.5 assists, quality shooter as well. And then Davion Bailey, 33 minutes per game, 12.5 points, 3.7 boards, 42.5% from deep. Those two are going to be dynamic in the Southland this season. Dylan Heyman returns from the starting 5 a season ago, averaging 8 points and 5 boards. Also transferring in as Jordan Pike, a D2 transfer from Union, just put up just under 14 points per game there. Mentatis Makis from UCF transfers in, and from Southern Utah is Harrison Reed. Mac, what's your read on Incarnate Word this season?
So Shane Hireman headed into year 2. I definitely think they're going to be improved. You mentioned it's the different transfers, the pair of Ball State guys. Hireman comes over from the MAC, so he scouted against these guys in his time in Central Michigan. I think he took it on the chin year 1, learned a couple lessons. I think that they could jump up maybe into not. I think they could get out of the basement is what I'm saying. I don't think that they can crack the top half of this league, but maybe push into that maybe 8 to 10 range. I think that's a fair jump here out of the basement here in year 2 of the Shane Hireman era. How about you?
Yeah, they shouldn't finish last, and I don't even think they're really in the back of the bottom tier. I don't know if it's going to be good enough for them to climb out of here, but it's a great start. And the best thing about mid-major basketball and trying to prognosticate it is start with the backcourt. Does it have experience? Does it have returning production? And they've got the experience, and they have produced at a higher level before. It's a new system and whatnot, but I like projecting a positive outcome than worst offensive efficiency in the conference last season. They're definitely taking a step up in that, and therefore I don't think they're in the bottom of the Southland this season.
Yeah, their roster's way better than it was last year. Yeah, they may even mess around and get it right into the middle of the pack, to be honest.
100%.
Stay tuned.
I'm lockstep right there with you. Before we get into some more teams here on the college basketball experience, Underdog Fantasy Pick'em is always adding to their awesome menu, and now they have first touchdown projections. There are a ton of ways to win with NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, and more. Their lobby is jam-packed with profit boosts and no-sweat entries. You can now use the specials and boosts on all flex entries. Sign up today with Promo code TCESGPN to claim your special pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code TCESGPN, right there, top left portion of the screen here on YouTube. TCESGPN, Underdog Fantasy. And we are back on the college basketball experience, previewing the Southland Basketball Conference. We started off the alphabetical order, just so happened to be two of the worst teams from last year's standings. Let's have a little bit more fun. Let's go to the Lamar Cardinals. They finished 4th in the Southland last season, going 19-14 overall and 12-6 in conference. They don't lose too many impact players. That's the one positive here for Lamar. Terry Anderson, who played 28.5 minutes per game last season, 13 points, 6.5 boards, 2.7 assists. He does transfer out, and same with Jakavion Buckley, who played 19 minutes, and Brian Gordon, who played 10.5 minutes. Aleska Lekic is gone. Valentin Kat transferred out. He transferred to a team that we just covered. And then Max Piercy is transferred out. Chris Pryor is gone. Transferring in, expected to make a little bit of an impact right away, is Danquez Dawsey, a D2 transfer from Central Oklahoma. Played over 30 minutes a game last season, 13.8 points per game, 3.5 boards, 5 assists in the D2 level, 1.2 steals per game, and shot it well, 43.3% from the field. He was a volume shooter and 40.5% from three-point range. He's a good insert piece to a low-level conference for sure. He's going to make an impact right away, in my opinion. BB Knight returns after putting up 10.7 points per game, 2 boards. Adam Hamilton is the guy that I circle returning. He's the front piece, the center. Played 21.5 minutes a season ago, 10.5 points, 6.7 rebounds, 1.5 assists per game, and he shot it well, 37.3% from three. This is a guy that I think they've built around pretty well. They brought in a dude that averaged 5 assists per game a season ago and also can get his own shot, and they have a shooter around him. This is a Lamar team that I think is going to finish right in the middle of the pack in that area, just like last year.
Yeah, and Alvin Brooks, 3 years in, I mean, to go from where they were the first year, where his only 2 wins, 2-27, were against D2s, and now to win 9 the next year, then 19, clearly headed in the right direction. I think that they stay right where they were last year. I like Lamar again. I think Brooks is a veteran coach. He worked with Kelvin Sampson, so there's some grit in this program. So I like Lamar again, right in the middle. I don't think that they're going to challenge for the league title, but I don't think they're going to take much of a step back. So yeah, I think we're kind of lockstep on Lamar as well this year with just the different additions. They're kind of in the middle of the pack for returning production too.
Yeah, I didn't even read off. I forgot to finish the transfer portal. Projected to be on the bench, but they brought in 2 JUCO studs. Alexi Marmaleos was ranked 62nd out of the JUCO ranks, 22.7 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3.3 assists at Arizona Western. And then Andrew Holyfield, 11.5 points, 6.5 boards, 1.5 assists at Ranger. And then Terrence Dixon coming in from North Texas, looking to make a little bit more of an impact with a little bit more playing time here. He's kind of, we'll see what we get from Dixon here. Yeah, for me, like I said, Lamar kind of right in the middle of the pack for me. They return, honestly, it's not a ton, but it's one of the most returning minutes from a season ago in the Southland. I think it's the 3rd most minutes coming back from a Southland roster, and they are the 4th most experienced roster on Torvik entering the season. So I like Lamar to a point. It's tough to project the ceiling when we've got, I think, other pillars in this conference that aren't really going to move. The next team here that we're going to talk about is the McNeese State Cowboys.
Are they good?
This is I don't know. Let's find out, Mac. Are they going to be able to repeat? They went 30-4 last season overall, 17-1 in the Southland, finishing first, sweeping the league. Let's talk portal. Actually, not even portal. CJ Felder, Shahada Wells, and Tavion Column, they're all gone. I believe they graduated. Shahada Wells, 32.5 minutes per game, 17.8 points, player of the year in the conference, 4.5 boards, 4.7 assists, 3 steals per game. Just an all-around baller, and he shot it well, too. And transferring out is Nasir Mann. He played 19 minutes a game last season, 7.5 points, 6 boards. Cameron Jones, Trey English, DeAndre Thomas, Wesley Fields, they're all gone. But, Mac, I think they won the transfer portal. I think this team, they lose their best player from a season ago, but I think they got better. Let's start off with Quadir Copeland, a junior out of transferring in from Syracuse, played 22.5 minutes per game last season, 9.5 points, 4.5 boards, almost 3 assists per game, 1.5 steals. Like, this was a contributor at a high major level. And now he's coming in to the 29th ranked conference, according to KenPom, last season. This kid's going to ball out. Sincere Parker, coming in from St. Louis, where he averaged almost 16 points per game, 4.3 boards. He shot at 42.5% from beyond the arc, 49.2% from the field. He's a senior, played over 20.5 minutes per game last season. Okay, let's go to the front court. Joe Charles, which he was on the team last year, 33.5 minutes per game, 11.5 points per game, 9.5 boards, 1.8 steals, 1.1 blocks a game. He shot it well. Javon Garcia, 27 minutes a game, 11.2 points per game, 3.3 rebounds per game, 1.7 assists, 44.4% from deep. And we haven't even talked about their best player yet, Christian Shoemate, who's on the thumbnail for the conference. 12.1 points per game, 9.5 boards, 56.1% from the field, entering his senior season after playing over 29 minutes per game last season. This team's going to be really freaking good. How about that Brandon Murray kid who's been all over the place? He's on this team. He transfers in from Ole Miss after playing almost 20 minutes per game last season, 35.7% from 3. Alan Breed from Providence. He's struggled with injury, but he's a redshirt senior. You can't complain about the experience there after playing at a high major level. Bryant Celebang from Arizona State. Jerome Brewer Jr., the leading scorer of Texas A&M Commerce, a conference foe. Play the gunshots, Colby. Oh, and then Lamont Evans IV also coming in from St. Louis. This team murdered the transfer portal compared to other Southland Conference teams. They lost their best player and they added 4 high major players. Mac, how many losses does this team have at the conclusion of Southland Conference play?
Well, I was looking. They got Bama, Mississippi State in the non-con. I'm looking forward to those challenges. They play South Dakota State in the opener. Talked to Coach Henderson about that matchup when we had him on. Can't wait. But this is a high major program. From an NIL resources standpoint, they're running a high major program down there at McNeese. It's pretty evident with the guys that they brought in. They're paying Will Wade like a high major coach. He is a high major coach. He was ahead of the times. This is a machine. They're going to win 30 again. And the question is, can they get to a spot where they can afford a conference tournament crazy upset? We see it every year where there's one crazy game. Could they get to a point where they could get in that large and maybe the Southland gets 2 teams because of how good McNeese is? That's the question. And that's why that Bama game and Mississippi State games are so pivotal. They're at Louisiana. If you're all these Southland teams, man, you're rooting for McNeese because maybe the Southland could be a two-bid league like when I was in the OVC with Murray State and Belmont.
Yeah, 100%. That is definitely the league's hope with this team in it.
They're loaded, man. They can play fast. They can play slow. They can shoot it. They're going to pound you on the glass. They can defend. They got everything for this league.
They were miles better offensively and defensively in this conference a season ago. They all rebounded well and up and down the entire roster. You've got a bunch of, for lack of better imagery, you have a bunch of Lamborghinis in a garage that want to win basketball games, and they're, running all over the place and committed to winning. Like, a lot of these guys have adapted roles that honestly they'd be a leading scorer anywhere else in this conference. And they're going to go out and they're going to play. Last year we saw it. There were a lot of mouths to feed on last year's team, and they operated like a well-oiled machine, like you said. A lot of mouths to feed on this year's team. There are new players coming in. That's the only question for me is how that operates in the clubhouse, in the locker room.
Absolutely no. And that was, I'm glad you hit on that. That was going to be my one concern with them. But they have Will Wade dealing with these egos. He's coached at LSU. He's coached at VCU. He's won at those programs. Yeah. Obviously, we know why he was out of the business. Like, he's perfect for this new college basketball. And I think he's the perfect guy to navigate the different personalities that they have. Kind of I talked about like the last chance you, where you get guys that are coming in for their 5th, 6th year that want to play their ass off, go get paid at the next level. This is a great spot. And little show promotion. We might be having somebody on the show that knows a little bit about the McNeese State Cowboys. So make sure you got your notifications turned on. Guns up. Let's go Cowboys.
There's a series on YouTube. I think it's called like Summer School Coaches Tour. Yeah,
well, it's not a preseason coaches tour because it's September 16th. But yeah, somebody that knows a little McNeese Cowboys might be coming on.
Yeah, Mac, dude.
They're loaded.
They are. There's a reason why I drafted the dude in our coaches that you would most want to lead your college basketball program over the next 5 years. Yeah. What he's doing right now at McNeese State is unprecedented. And that's a guy that you want at the helm at you ask any other school or any other athletic program in this conference, in the NEC, in the MEAC, in the SWAC, in the Big Sky, in the Summit League, they would want a Will Wade. And this is great for basketball, college basketball. You want athletic departments and programs and communities wanting to win and have talent at like this. This is good for college basketball, in my opinion. Yes, they're going to mop up the league because they're going to reap what they sowed. And what they sowed is a damn good basketball team. So yeah, that team's going to be really fun this year.
Yeah, you know what helps? Having a former coach as your AD too, Heath Stroyer. That helps, man. The best ADs are the coaches, man. Get all these business suits out of here, baby. You got to get a coach for your AD because they know what it takes to win, and they're investing down there, and they're a machine. I can't wait to watch this team. I can't wait for McNeese versus South Dakota State at the Pentagon in 7 weeks from tonight. Unbelievable opener.
Dude, this team's going to come in like a well-oiled machine, and I think South Dakota State's got some question marks. That one might get ugly. I get that it's like
Jackrabbits.
I get that they're both really that South Dakota State has a really good program, but they're rebuilding. That roster does not have a whole lot coming back this season. This McNeese State team is loaded. Honestly, they're close to being a preseason top 25 team. And
I think they might be. I think they might be.
I don't know if the AP poll put out a preseason top 20. I don't know.
No. I mean, I think they when they do release it, I think they may just because of the Will Wade factor. I see them cracking the 20 to 25 range.
That's what I'm saying. All right. The college basketball experience is brought to you by BetUS. Bet with the best in the business, BetUS, who's been around for more than 40 years, where you can bet anywhere, and it's even available in a ton of locations, including internationally. BetUS just launched an all-new live betting experience where you can easily deposit your cryptocurrency and get lightning-fast payouts when you want to cash out. Use our link to sign up today and get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits. Go to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betus. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/betus. Promo code SGPN so they know we sent you. BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. SGPN's proud partner Rhythm is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that helps provide bettors of all levels the ability to build and create custom predictive betting models in seconds and get predictions for betting on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Rhythm AI had a great NFL Week 2, 22.5% return on investment on NFL spread bets, and 44.3% ROI on NFL moneyline bets. Build your own model or copy one of the top performing models from the leaderboard. And the Rhythm gives you predictions for every game and player prop, and also has a myriad of stats, research, and trend analysis to give you even more betting insights. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Okay, we are back on the college basketball experience. Mac, I got to go a little bit off script. Both of those, that's a home run ad read. You have BetUS with one of the best promos I've ever seen for a sportsbook, where you can deposit 3 times and get 125% deposit bonuses.
No kidding.
And then Rhythm's making you that much money in week 2 on NFL money lines. That was a disaster. Like, my pick'em pool was a disaster this week. There were so many upsets.
So you like the chalk. You like the chalk then this week. It's a bad week for chalk. I can tell you that. I survived it. You know me. I like the dog, so I think I'm gonna go 9-7 if the Falcons could hold on. Shout out to Rhythm. My model's similar to Rhythm.
Technically, I don't believe you survived.
No, I did lose Survivor. I did lose Survivors. Damn Ravens. That was. I mean, hey man, if you lose your Survivor when they got a double-digit lead against the Raiders, against Gardner Minshew at home, well, I tip my cap. I'm out.
Okay, let's jump back into the Southland Conference preview. The New Orleans Privateers we're talking of next. They went 10-23 overall a season ago, 4-14 in conference, tied for 8th, aka second last. This team loses its entire roster because they bring in new coach Stacey Hollowell. Okay, get ready. Caleb Wilson Roos, 28.9 minutes per game, 10.1 points per game. Tyson Jackson, 25.2 points per game, 25.2 minutes per game, 9 points per game. James Gilson, third, Caleb Jenkins, Jordan Johnson. They all move on from the program. Deontay Bell, Preston Murphy Jr., Carlos Hart, Dorian Booker, Darius Washington, Dorian Hill. They all transfer out of NOLA. Coming in. We've got Kerwin Price from South Plains. He previously played for Fairleigh Dickinson, averaged 8.1 points per game, 6.5 rebounds per game in the JUCO level. And then Terrence J.R. Jacobs, or maybe Junior for his nickname there, but 8.2 points per game, 4.2 boards, 7.2 assists at Walters State, another JUCO program there. James White, coming in from UAB, played just under 11 minutes there. Josh Short, 23 minutes a game last season. Day Hunter, coming in from Pearl River JUCO, 14.2 points per game. Luke Davis, who averaged 15.8. Actually, Luke Davis averaged 9.3 points per game, 6.7 boards at Midland College a season ago. Theo Grant, 18.5 points per game at Temple College last season, transferring in. 2 guys returned from last year's starting 5. Mason Jones, 28.7 minutes per game, and Jamon Turk Vincent, 26.6 minutes, 8.5 points, 5.5 boards, 1.2 assists, 42.7% from the field. New Orleans is all over the place for me. I like that they have at least some starters returning. But this is a JUCO team that you would have a lot better of feel talking about than I would.
Yeah, this is another hard team to gauge. I mean, I see Keith Landry in the chat, the Fighting Schlesingers. Yeah, Schlesinger had been there since 2011. So, I mean, he had been – it's a new face in the program. You talked about it. Stacey Hollowell coming over. He was at Texas Southern, Loyola, and then just a couple different spots. It's an interesting hire. I'm not going to lie to you, just a lot unknown with him. This is a hard team to gauge, kind of like Houston Christian. So you got, in my opinion, you got to put them at the bottom, just with the unknowns. I need to see it because I think it'll be a transition year for the Privateers.
I agree. Let's go to Nicholls State, the Colonels. They finished 3rd in the conference last season, 20-14 overall, 13-5 in the Southland. They lose 7 guys from the team last season. Deontay Smith averaged 16 points per game, 6.2 boards, 3 assists in 34 minutes. Jalen White played 25 minutes a game. Micah Thomas played 22 minutes a game. Cortez Johnson Jr., Dr. Bradley, Umar Carisi, and Taj Anderson, they all have left the program. Coming in, this is another team that I think won the transfer portal, Mac. Caleb Robinson, a graduate senior transfer from Gardner-Webb, played 24.5 minutes a game there for the Running Bulldogs, 12.5 points, 6.5 boards. From Bradley, Amarion Ellis only played 12 minutes a game last season. From Utah Tech, Jalen Searles, 28.5 minutes, 10.1 points, 5 boards, 1.7 assists, over 1 steal per game last season. Shot 33.6% from deep as a big man, 6'8" there. Ike Cornish is an Ohio transfer who played 11.1 minutes per game for Ohio. The Bobcats. Coming in from Eastern Illinois is Sincere Malone. He was a fun guy last year for us following, but he only played 14 minutes per game. Brian Miles, 29.5 minutes, 12 points per game, 9.5 boards at Prairie View A&M. And Trey English, coming in from McNeese State, did not play last season. I believe he redshirted. So Nicholls State definitely wins the transfer portal. I think they are one of your – I don't know if they're a title contender because of McNeese State, but they are definitely gunning for a top 4 seed come conference tournament time. Mac, what's your read on Nicholls State?
I like the roster. You mentioned that they do lose a couple key pieces. Sadler overachieved in year number 1. It'll be interesting to see if he can go back to back. He played there. They finished 20-14 overall. They were feisty in the non-con. I think definitely top half of the league team. I think this is a good enough roster to get them to finish there. So I think Sadler's got a good bunch coming back. But I'm interested to see how he meshes a new group in his second year.
Yeah, we move to our next team, and Mac, take a drink. Let's pour one out for
the Demons.
Our guy. Let's pour one out for Ricky Cabrera.
Let's go.
Because looking at this portal makes me feel just absolutely terrible for all the coaches at low majors.
They needed a new roster, man. They needed a new grouping. Although They were much better in conference play than they were in the non-con.
Yeah. 10 guys transfer out. 8 of them played over 10 minutes a game last season. Cliff Davis, 31.3 minutes, 13.5 points per game. Chase Forte played over 30 minutes, 9.8 points, 4.5 boards, 4 assists a game. Braylon Bush, 31.5 minutes, 10.5 points, 2 boards, 3 assists. He's gone. Ryan Forrest, 20 minutes, 11.8 points, 2.1 boards. He also transferred. John Wilson, Carlin Hardy, Jamison Epps, Dwayne Posey, Jay Slack, Jamel Lane, Anthony Thomas, Justin Wilson. They're all gone. They left the program. It might have even been more than 10 now that I counted up. They bring in four transfers from the D1 level and 5 from the JUCO ranks. Cabrera is that's kind of where he made his name, is the JUCO level. So I'm sure he's got a good feel at some of the guys coming in. They do grab a Nichols guard. So play the gunshots. Micah Thomas, 22 minutes a game, 8.5 points per game last season, shot 42% from deep. They also get John Sanders II coming in from Coastal Carolina after they kind of had some, coach turnover in mid-season last year. He played 21 minutes a game for the Chanticleers, 7.2 points per game for the Cox, 1.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Laku from Arkansas State, he's a 7-footer. And Love Bettis, 5'11", 23.7 minutes, 11.5 points per game at Florida A&M last season. Shot it really well. 46.7% from deep, 44.4% from the field. The big JUCO guy I think that they grabbed is Addison Patterson. During the 2022-23 season, he averaged 19.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3.5 assists per game. Dante Walker coming in from Chipola College. That's a big baseball school. I know that for sure. I don't know if that's
it's a great basketball one too at the JUCO level.
Cool. So they just live and breathe athletics, I bet. Willie Williams coming in from Kilgore, averaged 14.3 points per game there. Also from Chipola, Gerald Colonel, or that's Colonel, but I bet that's Colonel. Landon Jawaman coming in from Lee JUCO. This roster is all over the place as well. Another one that gives me headaches trying to prognosticate. I like the backcourt. You got a Coastal Carolina transfer coming in from the Sun Belt, from what I perceive to be a better league. And then Micah Thomas transferring from in-league. So he knows the ins and outs of the Southland. And then you've got some JUCO performers coming in. So I don't think this is a team that's finishing in the bottom 3 per se, but I don't know how high the ceiling is.
I got him in the middle. It's you know me, man. I love to back the JUCO guys because the JUCO guys know how to grind. They know how to turn over a roster year in and year out. They got better in conference play, but they weren't good enough for standards to win in the Southland. So Ricky, my guy Ricky Cabrera, was 152-45 in his tenure at the JUCO levels at Tallahassee Community College in Lackawanna. So he's going to get good JUCO guys, and you mentioned it. I like the 2 guard transfers. I think that they're good enough, and they can carry them to be right in that middle of the pack. And if we can hit on some JUCOs here, I think this could be a team that pushes. I mean, obviously not McNeese and Stephen F. when we get to them, but I think that the ceiling is 4 or 5 range. Because I don't think the margin, from about 3 to 9 is that big. It's 1 and 2. Well, it's 1 and then 2. And then I think there's 9 I think there's going to be a lot of close games in this league.
I think there's 3 really good teams. I think there's 2 more that could crack it. And then I think probably the ceiling would be 6 for a lot of the teams in the middle / lower half that aren't in the basement. I think that would probably be the ceiling, I guess. Again, tough for me to predict the ceiling, but they do have entering the season, according to Torvik, they are the 4th most experienced team. They carry a lot of juniors on this roster. Anything else that you want to add on Cabrera and the Demons?
No, I just think they're going to take a step because I think I like their JUCO class more than I did last year. So, yeah, let's go Demons. I'll be pulling for the Demons this year.
Alrighty, over under 1.5 freezing cold pool cannonball jumps.
Oh yeah,
big wins.
I don't know. I gotta text him. We'll go under this year. We're gonna expect to win. I think he did the cannonball and then they won like 3 in a row because they got
did.
hot there. And
we were
yeah.
We were picking them after they did that. We were like, okay, the mojo's up here because they only had 2 wins in the non-con. It was rough early.
Yeah, and I'm pulling back up their schedule. Yeah, so they even started 0-2 in league play. So the first year head coach finally found their stride a little bit mid-January, and then played better and then ran out of gas at the end. So yeah, it's I'm all in on a big jump here in year number 2.
Speaking of all in, we all know where you're at with David Kiefer as well.
Kiefer, baby. This is
the
my league.
Southeastern Louisiana Lions, they finished 15-17 overall a season ago, 10-8 in the Southland, finished 5th in conference. This is another one that I look at and it's like, okay, this is intimidating. Got to catch my breath before I read off a lot of the transfer portal stuff. Roger McFarland, the leading scorer from last year, or not the leading scorer, but a big point getter, 14.8 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, probably the best player on the team, over 35 minutes per game. Rocco Eastman, 32.2 minutes per game, 7.7 points, 6.5 assists. It's incredible. And then Nick Caldwell, the leading scorer, 15.5 points per game, 5.5 boards. He played 29.5 minutes last season. He's gone. Alec Woodard, sorry, that's the Michigan in me, just assuming that was Woodward. Highway 1, baby. 31 minutes per game, 9 points for him. Avery Wilson, Jason Malbrew, Dominic Camisso, Joe Poyo, Anthony Batar, Dylan Canoville, all gone. They bring in 3 transfers from the D1 level. Sam Hines Jr. from South Florida is going to be a fun one. We'll see how well this works out for the Lions. He's 6'6", a senior, averaged 15.5 points per game last season, 4.2 points, 3.5 boards. For the Bulls, shot at 45.5% from the field when he got his chances. Coming in from Lamar in conference, play the guns blazing. Jacavion Buckley, 19.5 minutes per game last season for the Cardinals. CJ Booker, 24 minutes per game for UT Rio Grande Valley. He technically, I guess, is transferring to an in-conference PO, but UTRGV joined this conference in like May. So this was a really late conference expansion move. But so yeah, he's transferring in conference technically, but didn't play in the Southland last year. Thomas Tutt, 14.5 points per game at Garden City last year, averaged almost a double-double, 9.8 rebounds per game. Jaden Lawrence, 9.5 points per game, 5.5 boards at Panola. And then Kyle Edison at Three Rivers JUCO, 10.5 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game, 2 assists per game. This is another team that has 2 grad seniors in the backcourt that both played in the Southland last year. That's your positive, in my opinion. And you also bring back Brody Robury from the starting 5 last season. And he played 27.5 minutes per game last season, 8.5 points, 5.5 boards. He's your big man. You've got 2 good guards and a big man. We'll see. Like Sam Hines, I'm not even including into that group. If he does well, Southeast Louisiana is a team that I see that could crack the top 5. I don't know if they get into that top 3, but I think they have a shot to finish 4th or 5th in this conference.
Yeah, and Kiefer's finished in the top 5 the last 3 years combined, and I think it was 2 years ago he made the title game. So that's where this program has been. He does lose a lot, but he does have those 2 guards back, and this is a guards league. I think that's kind of the more and more we dive into these rosters, it's such a guard heavy league. So I do like the Lions, as I'm sure everybody predicted. I think that they will get better as the season goes along, as they bring along the rest of their roster throughout the year to pair with those 2 veteran guards.
Hey, Mac, do us a favor and text David Kiefer, because Keith Landry in our chat says it's his birthday today.
I know. I liked the tweet earlier. So, yeah. Shout out to Kiefer. Happy birthday, brother. Check out that episode. We had him on, what, June?
He was
July?
one of your first ones. Yeah. He was
him and Rick were back-to-back. This is the last 2 seasons. So, yeah.
I mean, so the only concern I have is they bring back the 3rd least minutes in the Southland from a season ago. And they're one of the youngest teams in the conference. But I do think that there are quite a few positives that I can draw from this. And I know that Kiefer's a winner, and that's been established in the Southland in years past. So this is a team that I feel comfortable betting on, that they finish in the middle of the pack, could even come in the top 5. Next up for us is the newbie, old B, grizzled vet, but like a new, I don't know. This is your Matt Carpenter rejoining the San Diego Padres when he's 40, when he played there in his 30s and 20s. And I don't know. I'm going for whatever. Stephen F. Austin's back in the Southland Conference. They're ready to run shit again. However, there is a bigger monster and McNeese that they're trying to chase down, but the Lumberjacks are back and they want to wreck some shit. They're 18-15 overall last season, 10-10 in the WAC. They finished 6th, but the WAC's a much better conference, top to bottom. Like literally, that conference is so deep. You've got quite a few bottom feeders in the Southland here that they'll be able to feed on. They're going to be a top-notch team. I think this is one of your top 3 teams in the conference this season. A couple of minor losses that I think good culture is going to be able to replace no problem, and they did pretty well in transfer portal. Let's talk about it. Latrell Giselle, 27.5 minutes, 13 points per game, 2 boards, 2 assists, 1.5 steals. He transferred out. Sedadrian Hall, 6'5", 20 minutes per game, 10.5 points, 5 boards. He transferred out. Jaleel Bobrin, he's gone. Kamari Wilson, he's gone. Frank Stain is gone. AJ Kahuste, 24.5 minutes, 8.5 points per game. He left the program as well. Coming in, hey, shout out, I know this program, UMass. Keon Thompson played 28 minutes per game last season for Frank's Minutemen. 9.5 points per game, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Chris Johnson, a guard from Texas, the Longhorns. He played 4.5 minutes per game, shot at 42% from the field. A sophomore guard just looking to play. Coming in from UCF, Tierno Silla played 15 minutes a game last season for the very Golden Knights. And then Keith Lamar, 28 minutes per game last season for Florida A&M. I think they win the portal. I think they're an experienced squad. Mac, what are your thoughts on the Lumberjacks entering the 2024-25 season?
Yeah, they're my number 2 behind McNeese. They're not on McNeese's level, but the culture, we talk about culture. This is a really good program. The Brad Underwood days, where he had it rolling there in this very own Southland Conference. Then Keller takes it over. You just look at what they did in their Southland, and for whatever reason, more money, I guess, they went to the WAC. But now they're back home in the Southland where they made a name for themselves. They won multiple NCAA tournaments. How can you not like this team back at home? So the question will be, can they challenge McNeese a couple times a year? Can they pull off one of those games as an upset? But yeah, they definitely have the second best resources in this league too. So love the Lumberjacks, and good to have them back in the Southland where they belong, baby.
I agree. And shit, their travel was just slashed in quarters. Like you're doing 75% less travel than you did last season. So, all in all, big win for Stephen F. Austin. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be a small step down in conference, caliber or pedigree, but I think they're where they belong, and they're a titan in this league. They're a pillar that I think it's going to be very hard to move Stephen F. Austin any single year. They could have as much turnover as possible, and I think the floor for them on any given season is sixth in the Southland. Let's talk about another team that I have competing to finish very high in a top 4 seed spot here in the Southland. Corpus Christi, 21-12 last season, 14-4 in the Southland. They finished second. The Texas A&M Corpus Christi Islanders, baby. They didn't lose much. Granted, they lose 8 guys from last year's roster, but in my opinion, I think this is probably the most continuity that you can get from a Southland roster this season. They lose Marion Humphrey, who played 25.5 minutes per game. They lose Dane Prim, who played 22 minutes a game. Tedrick Washington, 19.3 minutes per game. And Lance Amir Paul, 17 minutes per game. Jaron Marshall, Amante Allen Johnson, Aaron Harden, Xavier Glenn, they've all left the program. They don't have too much coming in. The one big name here is Aaron Potter from Western Texas, a JUCO. He averaged almost 19 points per game there, 3 assists, 4 boards. They bring in a guy from East Carolina. We believe in the Pirates. 24 minutes a game last season. He coming in from the Pirates to Corpus Christi, ready to win some games. Sheldon Williams, the 36th ranked JUCO recruit, 22.5 points per game, 14.5 rebounds per game, 1.5 assists per game from Coastal Alabama. And then Leo Torbor, 12.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game, 4 assists from New Mexico Junior College. They also return Gary Clark, a big man, put up 13 points per game, 8 boards, 27 minutes per game last season, 53.2% from the field. Stephen Agiwa, he played 20 minutes a game, 5.5, and shot 56% from the field. This is a team that's going to run from front to back, using their bigs, operate through their bigs, but they've got an experienced backcourt. Aaron Potter's taking a step up in conference in caliber and a division level is a little bit of a question, but overall, this is another one of my favorite rosters here in the Southland under Jim Shaw.
Yeah, Jim Shaw picked up right where Steve Lutz left off. I mean, this is a culture that they're used to winning. Shaw is a Billy Gillespie guy too. I mean, he's been around really good coaches. I think Corpus Christi is a 20-win winner again. I think they have enough coming back. You mentioned it, like they did lose a lot of bodies, I guess, in numbers, but they brought back quality guys. So how can you not like this program? I think they'll win 20 plus again and be in that top 4 in this league. This is a good program. No other way to put it.
They enter the preseason with the 4th most experience, according to Torvik, in the Southland. And they return 58% of their minutes, which is 3rd most in this conference. It's crazy that 58% will get you 3rd, but that's what it is. And honestly, I don't think they lost a ton of meat to the bone. So this is a team that I kind of look at and I compare. I'll save that conversation for our predicted standings talk. Let's talk about the other Texas A&M school, the Commerce Lions. They finished 13-20 overall, 6-12 in the Southland last year, 7th in conference. Sorry. This is another team that I don't think loses too much. They do lose Jerome Brewer Jr., their leading scorer, 13.8 points per game. But outside of that, not too much. Robbie Armbruster, who played 12.2 minutes per game. Alonzo Dodd, Vincent Reeves, Zondrick Garrett, James Weathers, Quo Agua, Ant Abraham, Prince Davies, Kalen Williams, Tommy Lewis. They all transferred out, and they barely played last season. So returning is what you could say is, I don't know what they've got coming back that is going to really excel, but they have a lot of continuity in this program. Starting off in the backcourt, Evan Phelps, a sophomore, played 14 minutes per game last season. Khalik Abdul Mateen, 17.5 minutes per game. A really good portal grab is Scooter Williams, 21.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, 6.5 assists a game at Chattanooga State. Last season, he was the 35th ranked recruit from the JUCO level. DeMarco Bethea, coming in from Ranger, averaged 13 and 8. TJ Thomas averaged 13, 4.5, and 3 at Collin. Coming in from Indian River State is Michael Sanchez Vega, who averaged 16 points per game. Tay Mosher from Otero JUCO, 13.5 points per game, 5 rebounds. Mac, this is a team that I have trouble pegging in my order. Help me out a little bit. I think this is one of the teams in the back half of the conference, but I don't know how low to rank these guys.
Yeah, and I've seen people in our field that have ranked them last in the Southland, and I don't see that, man. Von Rosenberg is in his 7th to 8th year now. They transitioned nicely, honestly, all things considered, from Division II to Division I. 13 wins. I mean, they've kind of been in the middle of the pack this year. I'm with you. I think they're a bottom half of the league team, but I don't think they're in that bottom tier with like Houston Christian and who was the other team? Houston Christian and New Orleans. Yeah, I think they're a step up from that. So I think that this program's got a little bit of continuity, like you said. They finished 5th and 7th the last couple of years, coming over from D2. So yeah, I would say probably in that 9-10 range in this league. I think that's fair.
To be fair, I mean, we are setting precedent ranking a lot of these teams in the preseason. Shit, we're still 7 weeks away from tip. The only ones doing it like even before us are even crazier than us. So shout out to them.
But
some of them are like, I don't know. We're operating there. These guys haven't even like finalized their roster. So who knows? But yeah, I'll cut them some slack for at least covering it early.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Trying their best delivering some info.
But quit hating on the Lions. I like the Lions. I like all the Lions in this league.
Yeah. Last might be a little bit of a stretch, but I don't think they're one of the top teams in the conference. Let's talk about
no, they're not. But yeah,
let's talk about a team that did finish last in the conference last year, but it was the WAC, and the WAC was much better than the Southland. The Mexicans, as coined by Mac, in a friendly term, because his buddy was the head coach there.
Yep,
actually, former boss, right?
Yeah, former boss Matt Figure now with Frank Martin. I mean, hey, the campus is literally located like 5 miles away from the border. That's where the nickname came from. So if you're offended, get over yourself.
The Vaquero is a Mexican cowboy. I fucking love that nickname.
Yes, and the Mexicans. I mean,
it's a term of endearment here on the college basketball experience.
People are too sensitive nowadays. Get over it. Let's talk some UT Rio Grande.
It's it's a conference preview. That's why I was talking about where we're calling them the Mexicans, the Redskins, the whatever else you want to call it, like term of
Hail the
endearment that
Redskins.
we use on the college basketball experience. But yeah, they finished 6-25 overall, 2-18 in the WAC. Yeah, they finished last in that conference, but they are not even going to come close to the floor in this conference. They should be right smack dab in the middle. Let's talk about it because they don't lose a ton. Marion Humphrey, wrong team there. They don't lose a ton, in my opinion. Elijah Elliott played 16 and a half minutes a season ago. Aaron Freeman, 11.1 minutes. Dalen Williams, they're all gone. DeAnthony Tipler, Salou Seye, John Chanu II, Roy Jones III, CJ Booker, CJ Jackson, David Oyona, Ebanzo, Alex Horiuk, Sherman Brashear. They've all transferred out. Coming in, they took Northwestern State's leading scorer, Cliff Davis, 13.7 points per game, shot at 39% from deep. A senior guard who's got experience in the Southland. Okay, I'll give him a check mark there. Successful. Fifth-year guard from DePaul, KT Ramey, played 18 and a half minutes per game, 7 points per game at a high major. Check. I love this backcourt. Let's go a little bit further down. Quo Agua coming in from Texas A&M Commerce, another in-conference transfer that technically wasn't in conference, but who knows if they knew they were coming in the Southland and they wanted to grab some experienced guys. He played 23 minutes, averaged almost 9 points per game in this league last year. Check. Grad senior DeKedron Thorne coming in from Alcorn State, averaged 8.5 points per game, 28 minutes per game. Graduate senior. Great depth we're developing here. Also, Hassan Abdul Hakim returns. This is probably their best returning player from last season, a big man. 29 minutes a game, 13 points per game, 5 boards, 3.5 assists. This is another really good backcourt in this league, in my opinion. Another really good backcourt. JJ Howard returns after playing 25 minutes a game, 10 points per game. I think the trio of Cliff Davis, KT Ramey, and JJ Howard is one of the best that you're going to find outside of McNeese in the Southland this season. I got the Mexicans like competing to be one of those teams that climbs into the top 5 this season.
They're such a fascinating team because Khalil Fennell comes in from BYU. Talk about
I totally forgot. Yeah.
Talk about like different culture, environment, going from Provo to the border of Mexico. I think they're in the middle somewhere. I think that the roster is good for the most part, but I think it'll be a little bit of a rebuild job at the same time. But they're not in the WAC anymore, so they're gonna win some games. I mean Ramey was at the high major, so they do have talent, but I think they need to prove it as well. I will say, to put a little bit in perspective, last year they split with Corpus Christi from this league. Of course, them and Stephen F. Austin were in the same league. So, man, I'd say middle of the pack. This is going to be a fascinating team. I could see them being in I could see them cracking in there and being like third. I could also see them being like ninth.
Let's dive in. Let's do our preseason Southland Conference rankings. Yes, we're ranking a lot of these teams based on how we feel about them entering November, the beginning of the season, but we're also trying to predict the final standings order in the Southland. That's kind of where we get caught up a little bit, but overall, this is kind of like how well we're feeling about these teams entering the preseason. Mac, I'll let you start off with number 12. We're going to work from bottom to top here.
HCU for me, Houston Christian University, is my bottom dweller. First year head coach, a lot to replace. I think they struggle this year.
I'm going to double check one thing because it's between them
and the Privateers.
And I'm going to go with New Orleans. They're both breaking in new head coaches. So another team that they're in the basement. It's just trying to figure out which one's going to win against the other one. So yeah, I've got New Orleans at 12, and I'll save the dramatic pause. It's Houston Christian for me at 11.
Okay, I'll save mine too. New Orleans 11 for a lot of the same reasons.
Okay. Do you want to go with your number 10?
Yeah, at number 10 for me, I kind of went back and forth on this one. I'll go Commerce.
Yeah, I have Commerce 10th as well.
Yeah.
I didn't feel comfortable with that spot, but I don't know how high to rank them as well.
Yeah.
So I just know they're finishing in the bottom half. They could finish 8th, but I've got them 10. I can see a little bit more and prognosticate a little bit more with some production returning from the D1 level with some other programs rather than Commerce. So that's why I have them at 10th. Your number 9 team.
Number 9, I got IDub, Incarnate Word. Shane Hyman,
I've got Northwestern State.
Sleeping on my demons.
8.
All right. At number 8, we are going to go. Man, this is where it gets interesting.
Not yet for me.
At number 8, I think this is where I'm going to have. I think this is where I'll have Northwestern State 8.
Wow, you shit on me for having them one spot lower than you.
Actually, you know what? I gotta go Northwestern State one spot higher. Give me Lamar. Lamar 8.
Okay. 8th, I have Incarnate Word. Like I just it wasn't on purpose. I've got this written down already, but I had them flipped from you. So 7th.
At number 7, I have. This is where I'm going to have the Demons. They do have They do have a lot of new faces, but I do like the backcourt. So I don't want to rank them too high. I'll be riding them though. Let's go Demons.
So we're talking 7th. I have Lamar 7th.
Okay. At number 6, I went to Mexicans here.
I did too, but this is where it starts to get interesting in my book.
I know.
This is where I would split up the conference, and I want these top 6 teams playing 3 games against each other and let the other 6 play 3 games against each other.
I'm Benedictine again. Mexican 7, Northwestern State 6. I'm bumping them up again. Let's go.
Okay. No disrespect to the bottom 6, but I think this conference is kind of crazy in the difference in class compared to others. So yeah, 6th I have Rio Grande. You have Northwestern State. Who's 5th for you?
Sela.
Okay. I have Nichols.
Okay.
Nichols State.
I had Nichols at 4.
I have Seal at 4, so we just flipped those. And I thought that the top 3 here,
top 3 were clear, man.
I'm pretty set in stone. Like this, you had a clear top 3, and then there was a middle class of 3, but I think you could extend it to the next 3 as well. To me, there were a clear bottom 2, and I would throw Commerce in that group with the bottom 2 as well. But let's have some fun. Who do you have 3rd?
I had Corpus Christi 3rd.
Me too.
Stephen F2.
Yep.
Guns up, Cowboys 1.
Yep. Okay. So we're seeing eye to eye at the top. Once again, I'm pretty chalky in my conference prediction rankings.
Yeah.
Not by plan. It's just I mean, how I'm seeing it so far. So tough to find a sleeper. UT Rio Grande Valley, I'm going to label as a sleeper. You finished dead last in the WAC and you climbed to 6th in a conference and a 12-team conference. I think that's safe for me to label them as a sleeper. Northwestern State's probably got to be your sleeper, right?
Yeah, just because I think they have a high upside. I think if the JUCO guys can pan out, I mean, I could make a case that I could bump them all the way up to 4, but I split the difference and I put them at 6 here. I said I could see them finishing anywhere from 4 to 9, so I went 6. I'd go Northwestern State. Bust Nichols. I'm doubling down. I could see Nichols taking a step back, but I also was wrong on Nichols last year.
Yeah, I mean, you got Nichols 4th, so
I mean, they're roster-wise are good, but can they do it back-to-back years, you know?
What I'm saying is, so they finished 3rd in the Southland last year, and then you have Stephen F. Austin coming in. So immediately, that's probably 4th. So that's your bust?
I'm not I don't really have – this league is usually pretty chalky. Traditionally.
I mean, we're talking about just classes and wealth. This is just America. It's really impressive coaching job. If any of the bottom 6, to me, in my opinion, if any of the bottom 6 crack the top 5, that's like coach of the year worthy in this conference. My bust, I'm gonna go with Lamar. They finished 4th in the conference last season. I've got them coming in 7th. It's a stretch of a bust, but it's chalk at the top for me.
I'll join you on that. I had him finishing 8th. I mean,
okay,
yeah. So
all right, I think that's a better bust than Nichols for what it's worth.
So I got to recap mine just because I was a little sloppy on mine. I was changing it up just because I said the middle was so flip a coin for me. So I went McNeese 1, Stephen F 2, Corpus Christi 3, Nichols 4, Sela 5, Northwestern State 6, Rio Grande 7, Lamar 8, Incarnate Word 9, Commerce 10, New Orleans 11, Houston Christian 12.
I have New Orleans at what's up?
I love the Southland.
I have New Orleans at 12, Houston Christian 11th, Commerce at 10th, Northwestern State 9th, Incarnate Word 8th, Lamar 7th, UT Rio Grande 6th, Nichols 5th, Sela 4th, Corpus Christi 3rd. Yeah, I've got to go Stephen F. Austin 2nd, and McNeese has to be 1st. My gut feeling on this is I'm going to be wrong in many places. Last year, I took big swings and misses outside of just taking the chalk of all chalk, McNeese State, to win the conference. So outside of the top 3, I could be surprised with a lot of this. Like I said, in my opinion, entering the preseason, if any of the bottom 6 crack the top 6, I'm just going to be super impressed, and that coach would win me over for the next couple of years. Mac, any final words as we conclude the Southland Conference preview?
McNeese gets upset in the tournament and gets an at-large. 2 bid Southland. Let's go.
I forgot about that. I was just you know me. I'm penning in the best team on paper in the preseason. I'm not predicting many upsets, many 3 seeds, 4 seeds to take over the 1 seed. Give me the best teams in the NCAA tournament every single time. And McNeese State they're close to being a top 25 preseason team in my opinion. Mac.
Well, and I will say, Noah, to your point, I got to look where the conference tournament is. If it's at McNeese, that's a big-time advantage, and I believe they do a double bye in this tournament too.
They do. They changed it last year.
Yeah.
Eight teams get in, and it's like the WCC tournament format, which is my preferred tournament format. I know you got your thoughts and feelings on that, but I think it rewards the regular season performance, and if there's not 3 or 4-way ties, I think it's just the perfect way to do a conference tournament. You want your best teams representing you in the NCAA tournament. In my opinion, a 7 or 8 seed running the table in the second weekend of March is a nightmare for a conference, in my opinion.
Stephen F, baby, or the Demons or Lions. Let's go. I also think you mentioned it. the resources show up in this league. Who has the money, who can host, who gets to double bye. And there's a couple programs up top that have significant advantages compared to some of these other schools in this league.
100%. That concludes the Southland Conference preview for the college basketball season of 2024-2025. You can binge all of these. We're going to have these in playlists on the YouTube channel. You can find the conference previews, all 31 of them. You can find the TC trims that we're doing daily news headlines. And today, McNeese State dropped their non-conference schedule. That's going to be our trim for the day. A lot of people talking about the pokes on Twitter today. We're going to hit that TCE trim coming up soon. We're also in the playlist, including Mac's summer school coaches tour, all of these coaches interviews. And like he said, there's, I don't know. I don't know if he's your white whale, but I drafted him as a top 10 coach in the game right now. So he's a really big name coming onto the show soon in that. So keep your eyes out for the summer school coaches tour. The college baseball experience, college football experience, the FCS college football experience, the stadium heads, all can be found here on the College Experience YouTube channel. So hit subscribe, leave us a like on this video. Also in the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, you can find a bunch of different sports coverage. We've got something for everybody. And the Sports Gambling Podcast does a great job at hitting home runs in the NFL every single week with daily content. And also they dip their toes into some of the biggest and best sporting events year round. So whether it be a big golf tournament or weekly college football picks, they like to do everything, and they do pretty dang well at it. For Ryan McIntyre, aka Moneyline Mac, at Moneyline_Mac on Twitter. I'm on Twitter at NoahB77_. This has been the College Basketball Experience. You better start thinking about yours, and we out of here.